Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Ale. Welcome back to my world of stocks. Now, as you might have seen, Palantir just destroyed earnings, sending the stock soaring yet again, this time by over 20% in a single day. And because I've been a big investor in Palantir for years now, I've actually been getting a lot of comments and messages now asking me to share my thoughts on those earnings and where I see the stock going in the future, if I even plan to sell now, considering how much the stock has soared. So I'll break all of this down for you in today's video. We'll even talk about the valuation too, which is definitely ballooned up to incredible levels. But before we do that, I just want to bring to your attention how a lot of people, not everyone, of course, but a lot of people have been kind of critical of Palantir stock over the years, calling it a bubble that will burst with a super overvalued price. And I myself have definitely witnessed a lot of that over the years, similar to Tesla stock, I would say, where I got a lot of criticism for buying so much of the stock. Again, not everyone, but I've definitely seen a lot of that. And for me, this really dates back to around 2021, 2022. I did most of my buying really in 2022 when it was really trading around the single digits. That's when I really just went very heavy on Palantir, and I've been buying it ever since. And I made countless videos praising Palantir's future potential, which is all documented on this channel. You can go back and see so many videos. One of my favorites actually is this one from around the end of 2022. This one was called 5 Giant Reasons Why Palantir Stock Will Skyrocket in the Future, which, as you can see, the stock was only trading for $6 a share at that time. Today, however, it of course trades for around 100. So it's definitely skyrocketed. And yet, all along the way, I received probably, I would say, like hundreds of comments and messages that were fairly critical of Palantir. So, just for fun, I did a quick search on my channel. I typed in the keyword Palantir. I spent like 2 minutes just kind of quickly browsing a few comments, and I pulled up some random ones just to share with you. I thought it'd be fun to take a look back at some of these. So, this one here, this guy says, "You lost me at Palantir." That was in 2021. This one says, "Palantir is excellent at losing money." Another one here says, "Highly disagree on Palantir. It's massively overvalued. Fair value is only $5." I thought that one was really hilarious. This guy has actually been leaving lots of comments on my channel about Palantir, even replying to other people who like the stock. He would be very critical of Palantir and respond to a lot of them. A little strange, but here he said, "Ale, I thought you were above the tired YouTube clickbait stocks like Palantir, Tesla, etc. I guess not. By the way, I'm a Palantir customer and it's nothing special." And here's him again replying to another person saying to buy more Palantir. This person was saying buy more Palantir, and he replied saying influencers are pumping Palantir on a daily basis, and it's the little guy that will get hurt. So yeah, interesting there. A little guy who definitely did not get hurt with Palantir. They actually made a lot of money with it if they did invest in it. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all if someone like that is probably a short seller. Sometimes when I see people leave kind of bot looking comments or they respond to so many, and I just think to myself, like, why would it bother you so much that some random stock is going up and people are like doing well on it? It really just makes me think that for some reason, that the stock performing well is hurting them. So maybe they just don't want to see that because they're a short seller or something like that. I'm just speculating, of course, and I'm sure this guy is not, but I wouldn't be surprised if some others do leave, very negative comments like that. But anyway, here's some more recent comments. These ones from just a few months ago, saying Palantir is way too expensive to buy. This one says, "Good video, except one flaw. Palantir is not a good buy as it's at an all-time high and it's not considered a buy right now. So the one Palantir is too expensive." And here's actually one of my favorites that I happened to see in the search. This one is from back in 2022. Stock was only around $6 a share at that time. It was in the single digits. And he said, "Palantir, really?" And he put a laughing face. And then he said, "You should invest in companies that aren't just tech and have been around longer than 20 years, like Colgate, Procter and Gamble, DOV stock, J&J." Then he finishes it off by saying, "Even 3M is safer than Palantir," and he put another laughing face. By the way, he also mentioned Robinhood is not going anywhere either. Well, just so you know, since making that comment, 3M stock has only risen by 25%. And by the way, I actually own 3M stock, so I'm not trying to talk bad about it. But for this guy to act like it's so much better, well, Robinhood soared by over 600%. And of course, Palantir skyrocketed by over 1,000% too. So, you can't always just assume that a company has no potential, or, because it's a little risky, they can't perform well, over the longer term. But anyway, I just thought I'd share some of those with you. By the way, many comments are also super positive too and very supportive. I mean, that's the majority of people, like this guy who said, you were the first person I heard talking about Palantir, and you were totally right about the upside potential it possessed. Great call. Again, most comments are actually very positive and nice like that, because most of you guys are very nice and supportive. I very much appreciate it. I feel like I have the best, viewers in the world. I consider some of you my friends. But there are also some comments a little bit more on the negative side. Nothing too crazy. Well, I mean, there are some comments that are pretty crazy. You'd be surprised, but I don't give those people the attention, so I don't ever talk about those comments and messages, the crazy ones. I leave that stuff out. But yeah, going back to the stock here. So obviously, when it was in the single digits, yeah, it was absolutely not in a bubble. I think that was an insane value at that time, and I don't care what the bears had to say. I thought that it was a great stock with a lot of future potential, and I just felt like they weren't really factoring that in. They weren't thinking long term enough, which I'll talk actually more about in just a second here. But considering how much it soared now and climbing another 22% on earnings, on strong earnings in a single day. Well, how bad did that valuation get now? And could we actually be in a bubble now? Is that something to be concerned about? Well, let's break down those earnings. We'll take a look at the valuation, and I'll share my opinion on all of this. Now, to sum it up here, Q4 earnings were just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, there's really no other way of putting it. You're talking revenue growth of 36% year over year, well above the 28% expected by Wall Street analysts. How about profit? Well, adjusted EPS growth of a whopping 75% year over year. That's about double the growth that analysts were expecting. So absolutely destroyed those expectations. And it doesn't even stop there. How about guidance? Sure, Palantir might be doing great right now, but the economy is tanking. Interest rates are still high. Inflation is out there. Trade war with China, Mexico, Canada, some random countries in South America supposedly is going to destroy everything for us. So tariffs are just like the worst thing in the world. It's going to destroy everything, going to make our inflation skyrocket even more. And 2025 will be, one of the worst years ever. Well, okay, even under all of those circumstances, Palantir says, how about we put up 31% revenue growth for the year? That's what they're guiding for, and that easily surpasses the 26% that analysts were hoping for. So even better than what analysts were expecting, even for a year where you turn on the news anywhere you look, it's a lot of doom and gloom out there. So now, by the way, we talk about the economy and all those negative headlines that you might see all the time, let alone the fact that the economy has actually been, struggling for years now with that crippling inflation, with high interest rates. Well, as people in the comment section pointed out, a supposedly younger, unproven, higher risk tech company like this should be getting crushed in this type of environment. We've even seen surveys of nearly every CEO actively preparing for a recession. That was the case in 2022. We had over 90% of them in 2023 preparing for a recession. And even this past week, another survey still showed over 80%. Those are insane levels of pessimism in the economy. And yet, what has Palantir done? What are they doing? Well, last quarter, they grew their US commercial customer count by 73% year over year. And they closed another 129 deals worth more than $1 million each, 58 of them over $5 million each, 32 worth more than $10 million each. And you know what that tells me, guys? That means that really, it tells me the same thing that I've been telling you guys for years now, which is that Palantir's AI-powered software is so insanely valuable to not just the government and the military, but also to corporations of any size, really, that just wants to improve their efficiencies and gain a competitive edge, obviously by using AI, and that's going to continue to grow, so much so that even when all of the sentiment out there is that the economy is very bad and everyone should panic, even with all that pessimism, these companies are actually still choosing to hire a company like Palantir. Even if they're preparing for a recession, they're actually still choosing to hire Palantir and give them their business. So just imagine what kind of demand we'd be seeing for a company like this if the economy was fantastic and everything was optimism and everything was booming instead of, all the pessimism that's out there right now. And by the way, it's not just growth on the top line that they're experiencing, it's also rising profitability. So they're doing a great job of running the company very efficiently. In fact, I don't want to hear the profitability talking point from the Bears anymore because they're just so disconnected from reality. Last quarter, for example, operating cash flow soared by over 50%, free cash flow skyrocketed by 70%, margins improved dramatically, their balance sheet rose to over $5 billion in cash with no long-term debt, none to speak of. And that's why the stock trades as high as it does. Those kind of numbers, that growth, that rising profitability, that strong demand for their business, for their products, for their services, regardless of the state of the economy, is why Palantir trades as high as it does. Now, is the valuation extremely rich? Yes, it is. With the stock as high as it is right now, up over 1,000% in the past 5 years, the valuation has ballooned up to $187 billion of a market cap, with even the most forgiving growth-oriented metric of valuation metric of a PEG ratio, it's up to more than 3. Now, typically, we consider a PEG of around 1 to be a good value, and even for Palantir, just in the previous quarters of the past year, it mostly hovered below 2 and one time was even below 1. So to me, that was a good value, a great value, an amazing value for the company, for the stock at that time. Even with the PE ratio as high as it was, because of the big growth that they were experiencing, which justified them trading as high as it was. And that's why you saw that in the PEG ratio. But now it's above 3. It is getting a bit stretched up here. And the question really becomes now, because of that, is this enough of a concern to avoid the stock? Is it possibly a bubble that will explode into a gigantic crash? So should people be panic selling? I personally don't think so. I think it will be a volatile stock moving forward, and I don't blame anyone for being cautious with the stock. I never mock anyone. I don't make fun of people for locking in profits. If you've done great with a stock and you want to lock in profits, do your thing. Always make your own decisions, do your own research. I don't go around mocking people. I don't glow. I'm not that kind of person. But for me, this is a stock that I do still want to hold on to long term. And there's many reasons that we could point to, but I think a lot of people would argue that this is a future $1 trillion type of company, whereas they're only valued at less than 200 billion at the moment in market cap. And yeah, the financials might not be there to match that kind of valuation yet, but if we're talking years from now, this is a company that I do expect to grow much larger. And like I said, I do think that'll take many years. I mean, let's be honest, it could take a while. But that's the type of investor I am. I'm a long-term investor. That's why I have a stock here in Palantir that I've made such big profits on, because I hold it long-term. I don't panic sell. I don't make those kind of moves. I invest very long-term. Ideally, I like to invest in a company where I have the mindset that I could hold them theoretically into retirement even, which I don't even know when that'll be because I have no plans to retire anytime soon. But I really treat it as if I'm like buying the company. It's something that Warren Buffett used to always say, is that when he invested in a stock, he thought of it as he's kind of buying the company, buying an actual piece of the company. He's going to become an owner of this company. And so he doesn't really think of it in terms of like, oh, I'll sell next year, or I'll sell in a week or in a month or whatever. He's looking at it more so as what type of value can we build here over the very long term, many years out. And I consider the long term to be, at least 5 to 10 years. But for me, I think of it as even longer than that. I think of deep long term. But that's just, the type of investor that I am. Now, when really talking about the future of this company and the stock price, when it's trading at these levels, again, I think there will be volatility. If the stock was to happen to crash, if something goes wrong, if the economy tanks, I do think that's what it would take really for a stock like this to really crash, would be a very, very horrible economy just really tanking and just the market in general kind of dragging it down. But even if that happens, I think that would be a buying opportunity regardless, because this is an amazing growth-oriented tech company in the red hot AI market that I think will be worth, trillions. I think the market will be worth trillions for AI in the future. And this company is just barely getting started. We probably can't even fathom yet how big the AI market will be long term. I think it's going to disrupt everything. I think it's going to play a role in everything. And I think Palantir will be a big part of that in terms of what they do and what they offer. Because you look at some of the things that they can already do. I mean, like, for example, Associated Materials use their AI platform to improve their delivery rates from 40% to 90%. Trinity Rail took just 3 months to create an inventory workflow that improved margins and generated $30 million in savings. Mount Sinai doubled their efficiency and were able to increase sales by more than $13 million. The military is constantly awarding Palantir for contracts. Recently, another nearly $500 million for its Maven smart system that uses AI in central command areas to scan and identify enemy systems. They're even being used to integrate AI into their drones too, which is probably the future of defense. All of this is really the future of I would say everything. Business, government, military, AI will play a big role. And the CEO actually wrote about this in his letter to shareholders now, saying, "We are still in the earliest stages, the beginning of the first act of a revolution that will play out over years and decades. This is a new phase for the company. A software juggernaut has emerged, and we have the products and reach of an established incumbent and the speed, growth, and agility of an insurgent startup." And I think he's exactly right. Case in point, the rule of 40. Now, what is that? In the software as a service industry, it's a standard metric that a successful company in that field can do exactly what the CEO is talking about, to be able to be growing at a high rate while still being profitable and dominant and running efficiently. And so the rule of 40 states that the combined revenue growth rate and the profit margin should equal at least 40%. If you're above that, you're typically in great shape for the future. You're firing on all cylinders, you're growing, and you're still running very efficiently. Well, Palantir has not only consistently met that metric for many quarters in a row now, but they've actually been climbing higher over that time. Again, even with the economy as shaky as it's been. The 46% marker in Q3 of 2023, which grew to 54% in Q4, 57% in Q1 of last year, 64% in Q2, 68% in Q3, and then a massive 81% last quarter. So not only are they meeting that metric, they more than doubled it. Again, guys, that's why investors are piling into this stock, and the short sellers are tragically for them getting squeezed. Because even as high as the valuation metrics might look at the moment, this is a company that I still think has a lot of long-term potential. Could double up, could maybe even 5x in size, if we're looking very long-term. At least that's just my opinion. As always, do your own research, make your own decisions. Leave any negative comments you like down below about Palantir. I don't take any of that personal. We're all welcome. We're all allowed to have our different thoughts and opinions. I'm just a believer in Palantir's future. I hope all goes well with it, but I also understand that it is richly valued and it's not for everyone. I totally get that. By the way, I've also been a buyer of what I call kind of the mini Palantir clone in C3.ai. So if you're looking for a similar business that has a much lower valuation metric, well, Palantir trades for a price to sales ratio of 75. C3 is only at 11. They're not yet profitable though. So it's risky. There is risk that comes with it. There's a bit of a trade-off. It's a much smaller company that you have to believe in long-term, but with a market cap of only around 4 billion, I happen to like them too. So I'm just sharing with you. That's, two stocks that I own there that I don't plan on selling anytime soon. Anyway, thank you for watching, my friends. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts down below, and best of luck with any decisions you make out there. And I will catch you in the next one. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.